Hi, I'm Phil DePaul, owner of United Water Restoration of Long Island, New York. So prior to acquiring the franchise territory of United Water Restoration, I was actually a consultant program manager for a disaster recovery program. After Hurricane Sandy hit in New York, especially Long Island, the South Shore got hit pretty hard. I spent about 4 years helping folks recover, rebuild, renovate, elevate, reconstruct their homes. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a lot of large-scale disaster recovery experience when I went into the franchise market. Yeah, so it was kind of ironic what led me to look into the United Water franchise. I was working with a franchise consultant because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. However, I didn't have a business and I didn't know what my next big idea was. So when it came down to it, I took my background in business management and in operational roles and strategy, and I took that and was looking for wherever I could apply my skills and myself to the fullest extent without anybody being in the way. And something about this industry and this brand just resonated with me. Our fleet has grown. We've added one 16-foot box truck. We now consistently run between 2 and 3 crews. We are definitely on a growth scale here I think we're entering year 4. So I think as a business owner, you're always concerned about staffing and having a team, because I didn't get in this to do it by myself. You know, there were a lot of other franchises I could have jumped into other than United Water Restoration if I wanted to put the whole thing on my back. So I'm fortunate enough to focus on people first. Ideally in the beginning, people with experience help get me going, right? And from there, once you start to get the industry and some of the lingo and the process down, you feel more and more comfortable that, you know what, now I can focus more on finding the right kind of person. And if the right kind of person meets with the experience, then, you know, it's a home run. But beyond that, you just want to create an environment that people want to be part of. And, you know, restoration makes for an interesting backdrop in doing that. So whether they've done it before or it's the first time they've thought about, you know, sucking out basements in the middle of the night, it's something that kind of is not made for everyone. So finding those people is always going to be a challenge, I'd say. It's not for everybody, but if what I'm saying kind of stirs up some passion and fire inside of you to be the executive that you wish that you had, that lit a fire inside of you, well, you could do that for somebody else by giving them the platform. And for me, I wanted that. I just didn't know what the hell my platform was going to be. So when I started working with a franchise consultant, and it was funny because, you know, the stereotype that was always in my mind was the fast foods of the world. So I was open-minded enough to say, hey, what don't I know about franchising? And let me reach out to somebody who can educate me. So when I did that, I found it was eye-opening. I was like, oh, that's a franchise. Oh, that's a franchise. And, you know, maybe it's cliche if you're thinking about the restoration business, but for me, if I was going to get into business, I didn't just want to do something. I wanted to do something that was going to make money and make a difference. So the idea of cleaning up feces and, you know, removing mold and something about that, you know, it set an alarm off in my head. I was like, okay, it's not for everybody. You know, there are obvious situations where you could step in and, you know, maybe to a humble extent, play a hero. Someone is in a situation they don't want to be in, and you come in, you help them out. And the idea of working with insurance carriers to create a win-win scenario where I could do a great job for you, I could send the bill to somebody else. There's a process to do this, and all's well that ends well. As long as you operate with integrity, I think that this industry affords you a lot of latitude to grow yourself and to grow your business and to grow a team. So yeah, I mean, if you're stuck there chained to some corporate cubicle, then you should really think about what it is that you're missing. You know, if you just want to change of scenery, then fine. But if you want something more, then yeah, the franchise world will definitely surprise you. in any way that you're open-minded to it. So for me, the idea of getting into, we'll say, home improvement, construction, home services, I always liked that niche. I always liked that. I thought that's a sweet spot in the market where being a service provider, ideally for something that's not going to go out of style. So for me, sucking water or boarding up fires is something that nobody's calling me because they want to. You know, they may not want a new pair of jeans, but they're going to need someone who does the kind of work that we do. So when it comes to service expectations, the client experience, that's something that I talk about a lot. You know, the experience should be that we were responsive, that we showed up when we said we were going to be, that the turnaround time was on point, that the technicians were professional, responsible, and reliable, that communication, something I harp on all day long, not just when you're there, but when you're not there. When are you coming back? How are you going to hold my hand through the insurance claims process? How do I know when it's dry? How do I know that there's no mold? I mean, people have tons of concerns when it comes to, mostly because we do a lot of residential, mostly their homes and their pets and their families and their kids and their grandparents. And there's so many risk factors that go into hazard remediation, which is what we do. You know, you might not say that, you know, sucking a carpet dry is hazard remediation, but you don't know what's in that carpet. You don't know what's under that carpet. You don't know what the factors are when you turn a high velocity air mover and just start kicking around particulates that are in that environment. So what do we do different? You know, I think one of the jokes in this industry is that, you know, we're water suckers and carpet rippers or something like that. So yeah, you know, I set the bar a little bit higher than saying that we do restoration. We don't just do water damage mitigation. You know, we want to do a great job, and we should be measured against whatever the client's expectations are. And clients sometimes have high expectations, and we should only focus on the work that we do and to make sure that we represented ourselves the best way, that we provided the best service, and that we did a thorough job, because the truth is a lot of folks don't know what a successful mitigation project looks like. You know, there's a lot of things inside of a structure. You know, in your home, it's filled with stuff. So you don't just get to walk in and suck the water and not impact people's stuff. And their stuff is their life. It's their memories, their sentimentality. There are factors that you can only quantify if you put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So when it comes to what do we do different? How do we differentiate ourselves from the competition? I hope that we have competition that's out there doing it just as good or better than us in terms of caring and execution, because I only want to find ways to get better. So they could be ahead of us for now, you know, and we'll find a way to keep rising to the top. Yeah, so if you're a keyboard warrior, can you be successful in this business? I wasn't that far off. I mean, I'm a hands-on person. You know, I'm not afraid of a DIY, but I've never, you know, restored a car engine or changed its oil or taken a computer apart and put it back together, or, you know, framed out a wall. Never did any of those things. But at the same time, those things didn't scare me. So I think it's in an approach. It's your perspective. So if you're the type of person who wants to understand something, maybe without becoming a technical expert, then absolutely. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I was, you know, I always will be a keyboard warrior. I mean, I spend a lot of time in my head. I'm a strategy, analysis, operational kind of individual. So I was never cut out to be Chuck in a truck. So, and that's not to discredit the work that you do inside of this business, because I was fortunate enough to spend my first few months in this business stuck in a truck because someone had to do it. And it was the best thing that ever could have happened. Can United Water Restoration work in any city in America? I'm going to say that it does. You know, restoration works everywhere there are structures. And what United does is, you know, no better or worse than what another competitor does in the space. So this brand will work if you do the right things. You can start up a business, right? Is it going to survive? Is it going to last? As long as there's a community of people who own properties and actually care if they burn to the ground or flood to the ceiling, then yeah, this business model is, you know, they'll say, I'm sure you'll hear from your sales representative that it's recession proof, recession resistant. It's insulated from all the market turbulence. And yeah, it sounds good on a brochure, but for the most part, it's true. And as someone whose first year in business was through the height and the onset of a pandemic, worldwide pandemic, I could tell you that we didn't stop working. Hell yeah, it's fulfilling. I mean, there's a lot of little old ladies in our business. So, I mean, they find themselves in precarious situations sometimes. So helping people in a time of need and feeling a sense of fulfillment or satisfaction in that, to me, that's something that doesn't come with every line of work. In this line of work, you get to show up literally when someone's in the middle of a bad situation and they have a million questions and they don't have any answers. And sometimes they have no one to turn to. They got no one to help them. It's you. So when that spotlight shines on you to say, how can you help me? Like, please do something. And you earn their trust. You don't just take it. You give them that sense of feeling like they're in good hands. Like, okay, I've never, a client in that situation has never been through that before, but with comforting language and with walking them through the process and letting them know that they're not in it alone anymore, that you can be that problem solver, that you can take that terrible situation and one moment, day at a time, you can make it better. So when it comes to marketing in our territory and managing that process, for me, from day one, it was I need to generate leads no matter what it costs. The acquisition cost of a job on day one in this business, to me, was irrelevant. Because if the phone doesn't ring, I got nothing to do. And if I got nothing to do, I got no clients to please. And if I got no clients to please, I can't have raving fans who were clients. So it was really simple. I got onto every digital campaign that existed, that I heard of, tried everything, kissed a lot of frogs. But field marketing is a big thing in this industry when it comes to B2B marketing and shaking hands with other contractors, especially plumbers, maybe some white collar like insurance agents, brokers, adjusters. So when it comes to building a reputation with other professionals, that is something that has had a large impact on the success of most United Water Restoration franchises. I see what some of our other franchises are doing with their field marketing and with their relationship building out in the marketplace. And there's a lot of traction to be had with folks who, when in a position to be a strategic referral partner, you position yourself with them and it will create a nice, in some cases I've seen very nice revenue streams and job or lead flow. So for us, we've had the most success online. Digital has made up a big part of what we've done in addition to some vendor programs, but the biggest opportunity in the near term for our territory exists in the field. Yeah, so the flexibility that comes with being a franchise owner it varies. It varies. But I think the definition of flexibility is, and this was big because I had two babies at the same time. I had my franchise and I had my son within like 2 months of each other. So my life changed drastically. And for me, a huge motivating factor with the timing for me was also that if and when I wanted or needed to be somewhere, it was important that I wasn't stuck doing something for somebody else. United has built out the right infrastructure to continue building upon. And from the marketing to operational to digital expertise to administrative support, they have the makings of a strong franchise foundation. I can see a lot from the trajectory that they're on right now that says that this is going in the right direction. And it makes me feel good as a franchisee that what I bought into is real people who really care and are really committed to doing something special in the franchise space. So I think that this business has staying power. This industry, so things are going to change. So just be ready and willing to evolve as structures change. And look, people's lifestyles are changing. They're more and more remote. They're in these structures more. Or maybe people start having more second homes. Listen, we got the Hamptons out in Long Island, New York. People love second homes. You know what happens to a second home? No one's in it every day. So the amount of damage that takes place can be excessive. When something goes wrong, it's usually really bad. So again, we don't root for these things to happen. There's a lot of bad builders out there. There were a lot of bad builders. There are gonna be a lot of, they're gonna probably plow more fields and get rid of more trees and build more structures. So guess what? The more structures that there are, the more things that could go wrong inside of these structures. So yeah, opportunity, I think, will continue to exist. Will it always exist in exactly the form and shape that it exists now? No. I mean, I'm in total agreement that this is a safe landing spot if you want to be in a place where your services will be valued for an extended period of time. So yeah, that played a big role in my decision making into getting into this industry. Again, I wasn't going for glamour. I wasn't looking for something that was pretty. I like that it's safe. I like that. And I came from wholesale distribution in the plumbing world. So early on in my career, someone told me, he said, you know, Phil, people are always going to shower and shave. And it resonated with me because I said, you know what? You're right. Faucets, toilets, showers, they're not going anywhere, you know?